One of the most challenging parts of doing research is figuring out all of the parts that go into your topic. If you're doing it right, then you probably have lots of tangible and intangible parts to contend with. Now, doing a literature review will help. You'll look through articles that other people have written. You may look through other sources like books or resources that at least frame what that topic is and what other people have already found. But that doesn't help you start to put it together. What are the parts? How do they connect? And what's the big picture when it comes to that topic? That's where concept mapping comes in. Concept mapping is very different from mind mapping, though. Mind mapping simply takes a node and then builds off of that node to other ideas. But concept mapping actually reads more like a sentence. And frankly, I think it's even more helpful. Let's take a look at concept mapping, and I'll tell you what I mean. First off, looking at this paper by Hugh Dubberly at Dubberly Design Office, he simply indicates here a very simple concept map. You'll see developers use Java to make software for people. A very simple line here that include these vectors that connect words. Now there's the difference between concept mapping and mind mapping. It's always those vectors in between. If you're doing a concept map right, then you'll be able to read your map and read your stream of thought through the whole map. Let's look at that again. Developers use Java, and Java is a tool comprising programming language, security model, other parts. If we look a little further down the paper, you'll see this map gets much more complex. So if you're doing research that involves people or it involves design, obviously you probably will have a lot of nodes in your map and a lot of vectors. That map got even more complex, and then the finished map quite complex. This paper's from 2011 and I recommend it. It's a great view of concept mapping. Let me give you a few examples from some students in our program here. For instance, teaching yoga requires compassion. In this map, it requires compassion, and then compassion for self, compassion for others. And you'll see how this map is built so all of these different nodes begin to make teaching yoga and practicing yoga more real. So I've got a map here that I built quite some time ago. I have a very clear research question here, and that research question is, how do we cultivate a spirit of exploration and advancement in a culture of convenience? So I've got this balance: exploration and advancement, the spirit of those, and a culture of convenience. For my concept map, I actually compared motivation and sedentariness. Let's look at that more closely. Here's motivation, which I called the pioneer spirit. That motivation is fueled by internal activators. See these vectors here? Can be, fueled by, because of. Internal activators like urgency. One internal activator could be urgency, and it's urgency because of aging, because of death, thinning resources, or deadlines. So the process of creating your concept map will involve getting to one of those nodes, using a vector to get there, and then busting out all of the different endpoints that could come off of that previous node. Continue the process as deep and as far as you can go. Here in this map, you'll see I didn't do a ton of nodes, but it doesn't by any means stay surface. An internal activator could be hope. Hope for the future. Hope for advancement of rights, for the future of freedom, for gender, culture, belief, the gender to vote, to voice, to pursue. So you'll see within this map, there are lots of different nodes, and those vectors are really the key. Vectors connect all of your nodes, and when you read a concept map, you should be able to read it like a sentence. The end product of this process, as far as your research goes, is taking all of the moving parts, as many as you can think of, possibly that come from your lit review, and making them tangible, making them real, and making them read like a sentence. So in the Dubberly paper, it mentioned that there were, I believe, 53 rounds on that concept map to arrive at the final. You'll likely do a concept map and continue to hammer at it over and over and over again to get it the way you want it. And that is a normal process. The important thing is, take your research question, figure out all the moving parts, and figure them out in a stream of consciousness way, like writing a sentence, by visualizing them one step at a time. Your end result will be a mapping of all these parts where you might see clumps or areas of interest that'll help drive your research project as you move forward.